Welcome to 15K plus random movie reviews, where we take random movies from Metacritic's 15K plus movies to randomly watch whether we like it or not. Hello and welcome to episode 29 of 15K plus random movie reviews. This is Colin.
This is Niall.
And this is random movie number 4,339, The Dig from 2021. It's got a Metascore of 73 and a user score of 6.8, which runs for 112 minutes. No clue about the budget or box office because it was Netflix in its delivery of whatever. I don't know how to say that.
Yeah, well, it was released in the middle of COVID as well, 21, so there wasn't going to be a box office release of it ever, so it's kind of a weird one.
Yeah. So directed by Simon Stone, hasn't really done much
anything else really, no.
Yeah, but it was decent. It was a decent effort from him, I thought.
Oh, absolutely. If this is one of his first outings, it's not bad at all, actually.
Yeah, I think he had directed one previously, maybe 2015 or so, but this was probably his big sort of opening. Maybe he'll do something big next. It's based on a 2007 novel by John Preston called The Dig, funnily enough. And I found out that John Preston's actually Peggy Piggott's nephew.
Get out of town.
Yeah, one of the characters that appears later on in the movie. We'll get to that in a minute. I can't remember who did Plot in a Nutshell last episode. Why don't you do it in a nutshell?
Yeah, this is quite a simple one, really. Primarily, it's about a lady who is, she's well-to-do. She's got butlers and all this jazz. Bit of an upstairs-downstairs vibe going on with her. The husband's dead. She has a kid, and she decides that the mounds on her property are some sort of historic importance. So she calls in the local museum and says, can you send somebody over to dig them up and see what's in there? So they send over a lad, Mr. Basil Brown, to dig him up, have a gander. He's informally educated, self-educated lad who ably played by Mr. Fiennes. He digs up some stuff, finds a Anglo-Saxon burial chamber,
and
a boat and a bunch of treasure. And then she dies. I think that's probably the most important part of it. It's a whole movie about death, really, and what you leave behind, and it's quite well done in that respect.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it before we went on there, but I quite enjoyed this. It sort of goes off a little bit near the end, and I'll discuss that when it gets to it. I'll kind of discuss whereabouts it actually veered off for me, because I thought it was quite strong, and then near the end it was like, who are these people and why should I care about them? We're going into something, a few different plot, sideways, segues, and like going,
yeah, they introduced a bunch of characters near the end that they didn't really need to.
No,
because it was quite, as you say, it was quite strong. Like Ralph can hold a movie by himself. In fairness, he is stonking.
Yeah, well, we start off. It's quite lovely, beautifully shot. I thought throughout. It's got lovely music. I thought as well. It's quite nice. It's quite a gentle movie in essence.
In every second shot, they go for a horizon view with beautiful sunsets and beautiful mornings, and it's all kind of soft and pastel-y and like a constable painting. Like it's all kind of easy on the eye. It's beautifully shot. It really is beautifully shot.
Yeah, so it's actually based obviously on a true story in a place called Sutton Hoo. They didn't actually film it in Sutton Hoo. Who's on third? Yeah, they didn't shoot it in Sutton Hoo because obviously it's a National Trust area, but actually it was used as a tank playground during World War II for training and stuff. So I don't know if actually the mounds came through World War II intact, but it's had a long and historied past, the area.
Oh, absolutely,
yeah. So it starts off beautifully. Like Basil, Mr. Brown, is cycling and boating. He gets a boat across. He cycled everywhere. The real Basil Brown cycled everywhere too. I was reading up his bio there, and he basically, that was his thing. He just cycled everywhere. He would cycle like 20 miles to get to different sites and stuff. And so he was a bit of
Sounds
a,
like me when I was a kid.
yeah, on your rally.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But
Yes.
he straight, my stupid brain, when he started talking, could only refer to the Fast Show, Ted and Ross.
He's very much like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Got that accent.
And again, it's where Ralph Fiennes, in my mind, he's quite like a chameleon in this. Like he really can change accent and role, and almost his face when he's doing it. He looks plebeian almost in how he's done it. He's quite subservient. His head is always bowed down.
Mm.
He just plays it so well.
Yeah, he plays it. He plays it gently, and as I said, it's a gentle movie all around. So yeah, so Mrs. Pretty, or Lady Pretty, played by Carey Mulligan, offers him something to dig up the mounds, and he was like, no chance, not low ball offer. I'm out of here. See you later.
Yeah,
He
like
cycles off, and the
£1 50. Yeah, you can shove that.
Yeah, shove that. I'm off the Ipswich Museum, back to the grindstone. But then the chauffeur drives off, hands him an envelope, and obviously it's a bit more of a package deal. And he goes, "Tell her Monday."
8 a.m. I'll be there.
Yeah. So he obviously starts off this, she tells him, "Oh, I've got a big feeling. I've got a good feeling about the big mound." And he's like, "No, that's looks like it's been broken into already in the past. So let's start off with the small one." So he starts off there. I did note, though, one of the helpers that stick with him throughout the thing. He says, "Leave Mrs. Pretty's mound well alone."
I wrote that down well. My favorite quote. It's subtly, if you're not paying attention, you won't hear it.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic line.
Yeah, they had to put that in somewhere, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, Ipswich Museum wants our Mr. Brown, Basil, back, and they're coming in going, "Yo, we want him back." So
yeah, realize how much bloody work he does, and we don't want to do it, so we're willing to pay the monies. And he's like, no, I kind of like it here.
Yeah. So we get a little background exposition of Mrs. Pretty's background. She goes by car to visit her husband's grave, and you see there's a constant theme running through the movie of World War II ramping up, and she goes past a couple of soldiers, and quite a few times during the movie there's airplanes in the sky overhead. So there's this constant sort of
there's a bunch of reminders that the backdrop is something pretty significant.
Again,
more so later
gentle.
On. Yeah, very gentle. Yeah.
We first see this little, she's got something wrong with her chest when she's leaving the grave of her husband, and it obviously comes to fruition at the end.
I like the local GP's prognosis is it's just you got woman's problems, or you're worrying too much. Quit worrying, you'll be grand.
Quit worrying.
Thanks, there, Doc. That's great advice. In fairness, she's smart enough to later on in the movie to take a little trip to London to get a proper doctor to look at her.
Yeah. So I think the first main sort of event that happens in the plot is the landslide that falls on top of Mr. Brown.
And the funny bit being that Miss Pretty was in poking around about 30 seconds before, and he says, "Oh, don't go in there. A bit dangerous in there." Then he goes in, pokes around, and it falls on him.
Yeah, and it's quite tense. It's quite a tense thing.
It's a grim scene because she calls over a bunch of people, all their lads. Very lucky that there was a bunch of people there. And fair play to Mr. Fiennes filming this, because he had to get buried for it.
Yeah, it looked like it, yeah. They were digging dirt out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, method acting and all that malarkey, I guess. Side note, this didn't even actually happen in real life.
Oh, did it not? Oh.
Did not.
Damn it.
But anyway, he's like going, all right, right back at it, right back to Mrs. Pretty's mound.
Oh, but he changes his mind after
Yeah.
Miss Pretty saves his life. He goes, actually, now you mention it, that other man looks good to me.
Yeah, exactly. So we get this sort of development of Mrs. Pretty's son striking up a relationship with Mr. Brown, and he's a creative boy, and he's again we have this theme of a tinfoil hat going through our things after Sage Green Planet.
Yeah.
He's telling this sci-fi story. He's got this tinfoil hat on, and then there's like planes flying overhead. It's the first time we see it, and yeah, there's
I think the relationship between Mr. Brown and the boy is quite nice. Again, very soft, and he's got a great way with the kid. He doesn't dismiss what
yeah
the kid's saying like everybody else is saying. Like I know some of the staff in the house are like, "Oh, that boy's up to no good," and she's like, "No, you come over here. We'll go look at the stars and stuff like that."
yeah yeah. So there's a bit of an exposition here of the background of Mrs. Pretty and how she looked after her dad and then married the colonel, and then the colonel died. I couldn't quite get her accent. This is one of the maids in the house. She said something about him dying. I had to play it back 3 times. I couldn't understand what she said. He died of something. I don't know.
I couldn't either. There was no volume to her voice. She was speaking into a dishcloth, effectively.
Well, she probably was. She was a maid.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, I read up today, and she died of stomach cancer, but I don't think that's what she said in the thing.
Right, she probably had a Suffolk term for it.
Yeah, probably.
He died of wallaby whoop.
Yeah, so then we kind of find, oh, it's a ship that's buried, and we get the initial sort of looks at it, and it's, again, I hate to repeat myself, it's subtly done. It's not a big sort of epic scene where the horns are blaring in the soundtrack or anything. It's just like,
it's not a Michael Bay movie.
no. So it's just there. It's there, and it's actually as the movie goes on, the boat, the kind of excavation is really nicely done. It's, if you look at the real photographs of it, it's pretty much identical. Yeah. Obviously, with the rain comes along back and forth through the movie, and just a couple of times where he has to run out and put the tarpaulin down and stuff like that. There's one part of the movie that was kind of weird, and it never happened in real life. Again, sorry to be a nerd, but I just want to mention that. It's like something about, Mrs. Pretty invites Mr. Brown to dinner, and it's like, oh,
yeah, I that didn't need to be in the movie, I think, because that didn't feel natural. It wouldn't happen. Yeah, that was never going to be a thing. There was almost a suggestion of her feeling the need to have him around almost in a romantic nature, and that's just silly.
Yeah. But anyway, Mrs. Brown comes along to visit, and that scuppers that date night anyway, so she comes along.
Brendan Carroll, was it? Or sorry. Thankfully not.
Thankfully not. Mrs. Brown's boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she comes along, and that dinner date is ditched. And then Mrs. Pretty cousin arrives, Mr. Lomax.
Rory. Good lad.
She's like, oh yeah, he's here to help you. And I thought this was going to be a head-to-head thing where he's going against somebody. They're all best of buddies, and they love each other, Mr. Brown and Mr. Lomax.
But he's only there for a few weeks because he's got his he's got his papers to go to the RAF. So he's on borrowed time, and I find, well, this, him being part of the RAF or signing up for the RAF, it kind of fits in with the whole death theme, because there's people training. Like, you bump into soldiers, you hear planes flying over, and later on the planes become more important with the whole death thing, but straight away it almost feels like there's a shadow over Rory.
Yeah. He doesn't exist in real life.
Oh, really? Okay, well,
no. It's another plot device.
Stop ruining this for me.
Sorry, just
this
I needed
is
to
as
know.
bad as me and Heldago, isn't it?
Yeah, I needed to know because I didn't like the thing that happened later on, so it kind of put the movie down a little bit for me. But we'll get to that in a second. We're getting through it pretty quickly, so. It's the part of the movie. It's probably halfway through, I guess, at this stage, and we find out about the heart issues that she has, and from then on in, she gets worse health-wise.
Yeah, she goes into the Londinium, and the doctor does an EKG on her, and
Londinium, well done.
thank you. Um, and basically, he says, "Oh, you could have one more attack like that, and you'd be snuffing it." I don't know why he's got a Suffolk accent, but he does in my head.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, so she doesn't get good news. She heads home, and she has a bit of a wobble, which you can understand at this point. Now, this is where you tell me she doesn't have a heart problem, isn't it?
she didn't have a heart
Ah,
problem.
god damn it!
She died of a stroke,
Oh, okay.
a brain aneurysm type thing as well. So there was no mention of heart issues. I guess this is just another nice plot device they added in that
Yeah,
has it,
yeah,
as you
yeah.
say, this like specter of death throughout the movie.
Yeah, I think they have taken artistic license here, and I allow it because it does work well. This bit anyway, the her on basically on the clock. You know, it's ticking
Yeah,
away. She's got her son to worry about. You
yeah,
know, that really works well, especially when you're exhuming a tomb from hundreds, thousands of
yeah,
years ago. So it all fits nicely.
yeah. So at this stage of proceedings, Charles Phillips from the British Museum comes down, and he's a bit of an ass hat.
Yeah,
He's
yeah, that's
he's
pretty
like
much what I
going, all
wrote
right,
them.
yeah, I'm in charge. You can cart the dirt away, Mr. Brown.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he's like
Sure,
going, all
you
right,
don't even have a degree. Get out of here, jerk.
yeah. So Brown leaves. Is like, all right, I'm not doing that. And then the son bikes after him, and that's a whole big scene where it's like, that's how much he thinks about Mr. Brown, and obviously he promised him to see the stars through his telescope, and that it's a nice little extra little bit more of forming that relationship, and it's quite nice
It is.
again.
It
So
is.
he returns after that, Mr. Brown, and he doesn't really care. He's creating the muck around. Having said that, in real life, Mr. Phillips and Mr. Brown got on nicely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So again, there's this tension
Yeah,
added
well, you
for a
need some
movie.
conflict in a movie, otherwise it's just everybody's
Yeah.
happy. And if everybody's happy in a movie, it's a crap movie.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But I think so. Here's the part of the movie where it gets a little diluted for me. So the extra excavators turn up, Mr. Piggott and his wife, Peggy Piggott, not Lester Piggott and his wife.
That would be weird. But you
Yeah,
were saying that Peggy exists, right?
she does. She does.
Okay, or did,
And so,
sorry.
yeah, so here's the deal. Here's it in a nutshell. Piggott and his wife comes along. Piggott is portrayed as this closet homosexual and not really looking after his wife, not really loving her, or not really like, she doesn't feel wanted by him. And so you see lots of scenes where he's like going towards this other male excavator. And then Mr. Lomax, Mrs. Pretty's cousin, gets sort of close and friendly with Mrs. Piggott.
Almost jiggy jiggy.
Almost. Well, yeah, they do get jiggy jiggy at the
Oh,
end,
that's
right?
later, that's later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
After
Yeah, they have a
certain things
little.
happen.
Yeah, they circle around each other, and yeah, it's just pivot towards the Pigot's marital woes is just not powerful for me, and the thing it dilutes it from. There's actually maybe 10 minutes where you don't actually see Ralph Fiennes, and you're going, where's the strongest character in the actual movie
It is.
gone?
I'm guessing here, but my guess is that it was another facet of debt, and if you don't take your chances in life,
Mm,
blah 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 blah. But yeah, it is. There's no. Where's Ralph? Bring back Ralph.
right. Yeah. Yeah, so just sort of then like they get a lot of screen time later, and it's like you weren't here at the start of the movie. I'm not intrigued with you, and I can't get intrigued with you because you weren't the main. It's like a soap opera where those characters come in and you have to spend more time with them, but we don't have time with these characters. There's no
Yeah,
point to them.
to be honest, I don't care. Like I've at this point, I'm invested very much in Miss Pretty's dilemma, and I'm invested
Yeah,
in Mr. Brown. Both played very well, both relatable characters. And then they ram somebody in halfway, and you're like, really?
yeah, and it almost feels like they were trying to make some sort of modern day
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
cultural
yeah.
dilemma where these things happen more, and they want to give a spotlight on it. that Netflix tends to do.
Yeah, like
I'm
I
trying to
guess.
tread lightly about around this.
Yeah, like, I guess what they were trying to do was something like the was it the Imitation Game, about the Enigma
Mm,
machine, the movie with Doctor Strange.
yeah, him.
Where this story is very that where this subject matter is core to the story. The fact that he's gay and he's
Yeah,
living a double life. Um, it's kind of a touches on it, but doesn't really. It's too much of a subject to have just in the corner there. That it's introduced three quarters way through the movie, and it doesn't add to the movie. If you get me,
yeah. No, that's how I felt.
yeah, it doesn't add to this movie. The subject matter of this movie is already well established. I don't understand where this is coming from. Focus on that if you're going to focus on that, but do it from the start.
Yeah. So anyway, that's our issue with this sort of plot device that they've put in here. At this point, when a Spitfire, I'm guessing, crashes near them, and they have to retrieve the dead body, and that's another specter
Yeah,
of
and
death
it's
looming over us.
Rory who has signed up with the RAF, who jumps into the river and swims down and drags the corpse out.
Yeah,
So as he's doing that, he sees a picture of the young pilot's wife stuck to the cockpit. So it's kind of, I don't know, making it real for Rory. This guy is real and he was a person and he drowned. Obviously, he wasn't real, as you said, because this never happened.
never happened.
God
Never
dang
happened.
it.
And obviously, Mr. and Mrs. Piggott, that didn't happen either. They divorced, but she went on to marry some Italian dude, and he went on to marry a woman.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so
And
there's no.
we will never know his sexual proclivities. We could just assume that he's actually straight, and this movie just used him as
Yeah,
a plot device.
I wonder how his family feels about that.
Yeah, well, they're probably all dead at this point, so it probably doesn't matter so much.
Actually, like a lot of people died in the 19, I don't know who, 1994. Somebody died. Like they're not. Well, actually, it is long ago now. I just feel like I keep thinking the 1990s is
You're an old
just
man, Cullen.
yeah. I just like
1990. Same here. Like if an album is released in the 1990s, I'm like, oh, that's new. Wait, no, no,
no, it's 30
that's a
years
long
now.
time ago.
Oh my god. Death is
Death,
looming.
it's coming for us.
Yeah. And anyway, so this the Spitfire going down is again another little. It's obviously bringing the theme of death along, but also it's bringing along the theme of the war ramping up as well. So Lomax is called up, and he has an awkward goodbye with Mrs. Piggott, where Mr. Piggott is oblivious,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Again, it's weird and kind of pointless. And where's Ralph?
Well, Ralph is now at this big, massive tea party where everybody's celebrating this excursion, and Mrs. Pretty says, "Found and excavated by Basil Brown." And that's nice. And then there's tea party politics where Ipswich and the British Museum are
Yeah,
battling
they're
over who's
fighting
getting
over
all
the
the bitches.
treasures, which I
Yeah,
understand. But at this point, or just after the party, Miss Pretty decides it's going to the big museum, which kind of makes sense, I guess. More people get to see it, she says.
yeah, yeah. So they, Mr. Brown has to rebury the boat, puts a bit of hessian on it and some twigs and branches, and there's this big, massive, interlude where Mrs. Piggott drops her ring, and then Mr. Lomax comes in and goes, "Hello, I'm here. I'm back again in my
I'm
uniform."
back and I'm feeling randy.
Like Richard Gere in An Officer and a Gentleman.
Yeah,
What's the
yeah.
song that plays there? Whatever, they should have played that song.
I know the scene.
Yeah, so there's quite a nice kind of wrap up sort of scene where they're lying in the boat, and
It's
Robert
almost
is the
like a
son.
Viking burial of sorts, but the son's
Yes.
weaving a story of intergalactic travel and her final travel as a galactic something or other. But
Yeah.
weird as that sounds, it's actually very sweet and it's very nicely put together, and it's well acted by the little kid actually.
Oh, he was good throughout the movie.
And it sounds like a terrible scene when we're saying it here, but it's so well done, subtle again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's subtle again, and like Mr. Brown is like standing at the back of the boat. He's not really taking part. He's just there, and they're wrapped up in pillows and cushions, sitting down,
Mm.
just where the chest of treasures were in the middle of this
And
mysterious,
at
mystic
this
boat.
point, my wife will not thank me for this, but at this point, my wife is in floods of tears
Oh,
because she found it quite. I found it was quite sweet. She found it was quite the whole death thing, and this obviously ties in with her impending departure from this mortal coil quite
your wife.
strongly. No, not my wife. Miss Pretty. She's got the heart thing, not the
Yeah,
stroke.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so yeah, with that in mind, it's quite poignant. It feels like she's getting onto the boat for her Viking burial, sorry,
Yeah,
Saxon
true.
burial,
Head into Valhalla. Is
or
that what they?
whatever
Well,
the
anyway,
Saxon version of Valhalla is.
having said, well, yeah, but I mentioned that because all of this Anglo-Saxon stuff brought me back to when I played Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Great
Because
game, going around
great
killing
game,
Saxons.
really good. Yeah, so like you go over to England and Londinium is there, and all the other Anglo-Saxon names are there, and you go around and you fight against Anglo-Saxon tribes, and you sail your long ship down the rivers, and this really brought me back to that game, and it was really cool. It's just a nice movie. Uh, yeah, the it pretty much ends with a war declaration of there's a radio thing where World
Yeah,
War II is declared, and it kind of fades to black. I think. What's the last? I can't remember the last visual scene that it just
uh,
fades to
I
from.
think
Was it a boat?
it's Basil just shoveling,
Oh yeah.
a
Well,
whole
that's
lot of
one thing we should.
shoveling.
Yeah, that's one thing we should mention actually, because throughout the entire movie, there's a lot of audio desynchronization of the scenes where you are watching a scene and there's dialogue happening from another scene, and it gets a little. You're kind of going, "Hey, your mouth's not talking,"
Yeah,
and
I noticed that as well, and it's intentional.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
It has to be intentional,
Oh, it is. Yeah, yeah.
and it kind of freaked me out at times because I thought there was something wrong with me,
I'm
which
having a
is
stroke.
usually the yeah, I can smell
Yeah,
toast.
yeah.
No, I find it weird. I didn't particularly like that.
It was a little jarring. I thought it was a decent production choice, and obviously the director is a little bit new. I thought it worked a couple of times, then a lot of the
It
other
maybe
times,
overused, perhaps.
yeah, a little bit jarring at times. I think if he subtly used it like the rest of the movie is subtly done, I thought it would have been a bit better. But I appreciated his attempt, and it worked a couple of times.
Yeah, yeah.
So we fade to black, and it gives us a couple of factual things. Basil Brown's name was not mentioned when the gold
Yeah,
thing.
that was like I was thinking, oh, bunch of jerks.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't find out today in reading the articles if that was actually true. I'm guessing it was, but
Yeah, and
now it's done.
himself and Miss Pretty have got their names on the plaque,
Oh yeah, now they
so
do. Yeah.
that's something.
She in real life, she didn't see an exhibition happen of the stuff. She died. World War II happened, and all the stuff was hidden in the underground tube station
Hmm.
places to
9 years
protect
later,
them.
I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, 9 years after Edith's death, Mrs. Pretty's death, it was exhibited. Yeah. One other thing about reality as well, Peggy Piggott's fans or family sort of took offense to the fact that it said in the movie that Mr. Phillips just got her because she's light and she wouldn't break the boat, when in actual fact she was a well respected and renowned archaeologist in real life, had done a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but I
So there
think
you
they
go.
wanted to portray Mr. Phillips as a chauvinistic a hole,
Yeah.
and that was another way of again, a movie without conflict is a bit tepid.
Yeah. So that's the plot. What did you give it out of 5?
I give it 3.5. It's not particularly complex or anything like that, but it's clean and it works. I knock it back a few points for the introduction of Rory and the superfluous romance that doesn't really need to be in there.
Yeah, yeah, and he was down as taking all those photographs, which they all exist, those photographs, but it was, I think it was Mrs. Pretty's cousin or something that took photographs.
No, he is
So all the
Mrs. Pretty's cousin.
photographs.
A different one.
Mrs. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. No, brother. Maybe I don't know. It's somewhere. It's not. It's
Somebody,
not his.
somebody had a camera. It wasn't Rory because he didn't
Yeah, Mister.
exist.
Actually, I think it was somebody with the museum or something. Mister Phillips. Something to do with Mister Phillips.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had it. I had it at 3, but I think I agree. It's 3.5. It's really. It's just after all the crap movies we got, it was just nice to sit
Oh
back and
yeah.
just enjoy one. And I really like history and archaeology too, and
Well,
so it was really interesting to me.
what I love about this plot though is there's no massive big scenes. There's no shouting. There's no loud noises. And I love. Don't get me wrong. I love explosions. I love tropic thunder. I love crazy stuff. Um, this isn't that. And sometimes, and if it's done really well, and this is done really well, a subtle, gentle movie is such a pleasure to watch. And
Yeah,
this is that, and this plot was exactly that. There's no shouting. There's no. Okay, there is a little bit of conflict, and even with a backdrop of World War II, it's really gentle, and that's fantastic.
yeah. Sometimes we need a gentle media presentation
Yeah,
movie, a talkie.
a talk exactly where people talk
Yeah.
about their feelings.
Yes. Uh, Acting, I gave 3 out of 5. Meg Ralph Fiennes is great. The accent's a little just kept it's quite stereotypical, but I guess it's
It's what
what
people
that
in
accent
Suffolk sound
is.
like at the time.
Yeah.
Probably still.
Carey Mulligan's understated role, it's quite good.
Yeah, I
Lily
thought she was great, and
James,
I thought the boy was very good as well. There's a
yeah.
some of the supporting actors aren't fantastic. Um,
No. Like Lily James is okay, but again, I just don't want that part of the movie really.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, she doesn't get the feature in this. I give I was I've got wrote down two numbers here because I couldn't decide. I'll probably go with the lower one because I am an asshole.
That's fine.
I put down 3.5. I was toying with 4 because I love Ralph in this. To be honest, I love Ralph Fiennes in pretty much anything he's in. But I think he's really good, and as said earlier, he's very subtle and very soft in this, and he does that so well.
Yeah. Yeah, I got I got a couple of nominations for BAFTAs, but didn't win anything. I can't remember if any of them got acting nods. But do you know Charles Phillip, who that actor is? Ken Stott. You know his he played a role
He
in
was in The Hobbit
movies.
as a
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. You
yeah. That's the only time I've ever seen him before.
Balin,
That's it.
the
That's
Hobbit
Bailey. Yeah.
trilogy. I went to see the Hobbit after a long day at work when it first came out, and I fell asleep during it.
That was the right thing to do.
It was very long and boring.
Substantial disappointment.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not
So
reviewing that.
no, not yet. Anyway, Sound Brackets track. I really like this. The general theme of the strings of the piano is through it, composed by Stephen Gregory. Um, I gave it 3 out of 5. I think I probably would have given it a 3.5 out of 5 if we're bringing in the concept of the out of sync dialogue as well. So I kind of again the music is understated and gentle.
I give it 2.75 because I thought it was good. I just didn't notice it all that much, and that's probably a good
Mm,
thing. And maybe I'm being a bit harsh. It fits. It does fit, so maybe it deserves a 3. But I'm going to stick with 2.75 because I'm a ho.
that's no, that's fine. What about production values overall?
I really enjoyed the production. I went crazy and give it a 4. I love the scenery. I love how the horizons are in when they're shot and there's stuff happening in the foreground. It doesn't really get in the way, but it just adds to the gentle nature of this movie. Like the pastel colors, the shooting at sunset or dawn, and it's just how soft it all is. It's cozy. I like it.
Yeah, it's cozy. Yeah, I gave it 3. I was trying to, balance it out here. Like, what movies do I give like 3.75 and above to, and 3.5? I didn't want to go crazy and bring this into my top 10 or top 50 movies of all time, because it's probably wouldn't be in my top 50 movies of
No,
all
no,
time.
absolutely not.
It's just a really nice movie, and it's a nice change of pace if you want to just chillax for an hour
It may be the
or
case
two.
that it's been a while since we've had a good
True,
movie that
true.
it feels better than it really is. It isn't, as you say, it's not in my top 100. It's a good movie. It was an enjoyable watch. Yeah, it's good, but not amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Recommended. Asher Liberto in the playlist gave it 42 out of 100. He said, although the actors are a joy to watch, as always, honestly, Edith and Basil's real life story just isn't that cinematic, and the film never makes their discovery feel like our own.
You wish that it was directed by Michael Bay.
Yeah, you want more explosions and flashbacks to Anglo-Saxon wars and stuff.
Some
Actually, the one,
decapitations.
yeah, the one above it, I just need to read out because I think it fits it better just in terms of plot. David Fear in the Rolling Stone gave it 50. He said, this is a passable substitute for the real thing. It could have burrowed so much deeper. And I kind of agree with that sentiment. If you had thrown out the side plots of the failing Piggott marriage, you could have delved a bit deeper with stuff.
While I agree with the getting rid of the superfluous nonsense, I think just make the movie a little bit shorter and make it a little bit more punchier before it.
Yeah, it could have been an hour and a half movie and got everything you needed into it. And
Yeah.
if you weren't comfortable as a director where the archaeological dig and the main players around that dig wasn't engaging enough for viewers potentially, then maybe you shouldn't have taken the movie. I don't think, if you didn't actually believe that was strong enough to carry the movie.
Yeah.
Jared Mubarak in the film stage gave it 91 out of 100.
Mm.
They said, with superb performances, Fiennes, Mulligan, James, and Flynn shine, gorgeous cinematography, lyrical editing, and a complimentary score, the film proves a melancholic wonder that isn't easily forgotten. We didn't mention the word melancholy. It is actually melancholy.
It's very melancholy.
Yeah.
It's exactly what this movie is,
Yeah.
but not overly. You don't end the movie and think, "Oh my god, everything's terrible." There's a little bit of hope to it still.
Yeah, there's no sickly sweet feeling to it either. It's quite a good tone to it.
Mm.
Great. All right, so let's bury the dig in the past. Yay! And
Nice.
so next week, do you know what day it is next week?
Christmas.
No, hopefully we're still around come Christmas. But next week it's Halloween. So what we're going to do is we have the top 50 Halloween movies on Metacritic geared up, and we're going to pick a number between 1 and 50 and choose a horror movie to watch, whether we like it or not.
It's probably not, because I'm not a big fan of horror.
No, but some of them are pretty good, and if we get a classic one, it's always great to see it.
I'm gonna put some cushions behind the sofa. It'll be fine.
Yeah. All right, let's roll the dice and see what we get. We got 41, so we got probably near the furthest edge of
That should be still good in the top 50.
Okay, so we got a movie called Saint Maud.
Right, never heard of it.
No, so let's see. It's Maud, a newly devout hospice nurse, becomes obsessed with saving her dying patient's soul, but sinister forces on her own sinful past threaten to put an end to her holy calling. It's got a Metascore of 83, a user score of 7.0. Directed by Rose Glass, who has done another movie that we don't know.
Excellent.
It's got, is this an Irish movie? Because it's got a couple of actresses in it with Celtic-looking names. Although it looks like a bit Welsh as well. There's a Morfydd Clark, there's Quail Fiennes, Down, Jennifer Elle. Yeah, so I think it's going to be one of those indie movies that probably along the lines of The Bone Woman, who's Sarah.
Oh, good. That was my favorite.
Oh, it's an A24 movie.
Okay. This is looking up already. I love A24. Yay!
Hey, so it's from 2021 and it runs from an hour. Runs for an hour and 24 minutes. So it'll be a pretty punchy,
Yeah, good.
punchy thing.
Good. This sounds good.
That's fine. Yeah, it'll be fine. It's fine.
You said it was 2021?
2021. Yeah. Yeah, it's a couple of good reviews there from a couple of different reviewers. So that's going to be our Halloween special. A bit disappointed it's not one of the big movies.
Yeah, you think in the top 50 it would have hit something like the Halloweens or the
Oh yeah, they're all there, but
Shinning.
yeah, they're all there. But unfortunately, our random gods always just give us stuff.
Yet
that
again, the gods of randomness poop upon our heads.
Yes, but we do have a project in the pipeline which will still rely on the gods of randomness. But during the next couple of weeks or so, we're going to get our avid listeners to send us their top 10 movies, and we will choose randomly from their top 10 movies. So that will get people interested in actually listening more to our episodes because it's more popular movies, and also it'll be more interesting for us as well to focus on some classics that are out there.
Yeah.
We've already got a top 10 in from our number one fan Rob in Singapore, so
all I think of is when you say that is Misery.
Misery.
You know, with the old dirty bird and sledgehammers and ankles.
Oh yeah, number one fan.
Yeah. I'm your number one fan. Oh crap. See, that would be a good horror movie.
Yeah, I don't know if that's in the top 50 of Metacritics, but whatever. Okay, so that is the end of episode 29. We'll see you in episode 30 for our Halloween special, Saint Maud, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Cheerio.